Hi, TTT readers. I'm Alka Elizabeth, a publisher with TheDropTimes, and joining me today is Piyuesh Kumar, the Director of Technology, QED42. He's an experienced infrastructure and software architect who is also an open source evangelist. And if you're heading to Drupal Con Barcelona this year, do not forget to attend Piyush's session. So with that, we are moving on to the interview. Welcome, Piyush.
Thanks, Alka. Thanks,
Thank you so
DropTimes,
much.
for the platform.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us. It's so wonderful to have you here. We rarely get the opportunity to conduct visual interviews. We usually stick to written forms. So the first question, the context of this interview basically runs up with your professional journey and your involvement with QED42 as a Drupal agency. So while I went through your profile, I learned that you've had some nearly 14 years of experience with QED42. So how would you describe your journey from inception to the current phase?
Well, it's a long journey, but yeah, I'd like to summarize this in a very short or simple way, Alka. So yeah, I joined QED42 as an intern, and in fact, I was the first intern with QED42. Uh, Back then, the Payne and Madhu were running this company. They came to the college. I come from VIT, Vellore Institute of Technology, and yeah, I joined QED42 as an intern. Back then, I was so in college as well. I was doing a lot of problem solving with technology. For example, college fests, events. I was the one who was responsible for taking care of technical needs for the event, basically. Right. I came here. The first thing that I heard was Drupal. Drupal is a PHP-based framework, and yeah, I had done PHP a little bit in the past, but Drupal was a little new to me. So that's how I got introduced to Drupal. We had a quick 10-15 days crash course on Drupal. And Drupal had a different different learning curve overall back then in 2011, where hooks were the core way of modifying things or tweaking the flow of Drupal, right? And it typically takes anyone new in technology to get hang of what hooks are. But yeah, got hang of it. My first project with QED42 was migrating an ASP.NET website into Drupal. Back then, I was just learning Drupal. But this project gave me good insights into how database is structured with Drupal. That was back then in the ages of Migrate V1, Migrate framework, which we all know is a part of Drupal core right now and is a much more robust framework. Back then, it was pretty basic. Was using table wizards, Migrate V1. It was kind of tricky to get migrations done back then. But yeah, given my experience and my interest, my passion towards database and my passion towards technology, it helped me move through the project much faster. That was a short bit about my first project, but yeah, over the years, I've seen Drupal grow more from a CMS or a content management framework perspective to more often open DXP provider today, wherein the customers industry, everything is demanding a lot more from these being typically just websites to more like a more integrated platform where the customers can get insightful data about the entire platform and have it connected with different marketing technologies or analytics or understand what their users are doing. So that's how things have evolved. I have been an individual contributor in the beginning. I've seen the team size grow from a 3-person team to a 150 plus team today. And yeah, been an open source evangelist in between, where we were doing a lot for Drupal community in Pune. I also take care of Drupal Pune community, managing events, managing meetups over here at this stage. And right now, I take care of heading different technology verticals at QED42. We started with Drupal, but yeah, we have added over years. We have added design. We've added JavaScript modern interfaces, and a lot more to our technology stack over time. And I take care of handling these technologies today.
Okay.
At QED. That's a little bit about that's a overview of how I have evolved with QED42's growth.
Yeah. how you have evolved with Drupal and QED42. So
Yes.
as mentioned, 14 years is a long time. So did you face any major challenges when you were starting out as a part of this, maybe Drupal or part of QED42? Did you
Mhm.
face any major challenges? Because people usually accuse Drupal for having a very steep learning curve. You
Yeah.
usually hear that because it's so hard to catch up, even if you're coming from a technical background. So were you like, did you have many obstacles to
That's what happened
face?
initially, to be honest, Alka, wherein we were doing a lot of site building, not much of coding, and coming up right out from the college where I was doing a lot of hands-on coding, and suddenly to more of a site builder experience is what I
Okay.
got. But then there were custom things which came my way, and I really learned that why reinvent the wheel when you can leverage what is available out of the box, and then build on top of it, where you're most importantly working with the business requirements and actually developing them, doing custom work over there. Drupal definitely had its own learning curve till Drupal 7, where Drupal 7 followed this not invented here syndrome, had its own island wherein I have my own way of doing things, kind of thing, right? All of it changed massively with Drupal 8 coming on board. When Drupal adopted or Drupal brought in Symfony components into its core, which is and adopted like the standard ways of doing things. For example, rather than managing deployments via features, which was a contrib module in Drupal 7, having a configuration management system within Drupal core, which is how typically other frameworks or other platforms do it, right? So Drupal making this shift from not invented here syndrome, to like being able to adopt the right industry standards and then growing forward, that has also reduced this learning curve. So
Okay.
being hook oriented, being procedural programming oriented earlier, that has changed to object oriented programming now. And anyone who's coming out of the college, they must have done object oriented programming in their college days, right? So it becomes much easier for people to understand the code which is written
Mhm.
without learning enough of Drupalism, uh, Drupal specifics, I would say. So yeah, that gap has reduced over time. That
Okay.
was a challenge back when I joined, but I think it has considerably become lower. In fact, we run boot camps with internship programs at QED42, wherein we hire fresh interns from colleges. In
Okay.
fact, for colleges, the certain colleges in India which provide last semester as to students to do internship with
Okay.
organizations, right? And that's where we hire fresh interns from. It has been much easier of a journey to train people with Drupal 8 plus compared to how it was for Drupal 7,
Okay. Right.
right?
So now with the
So the
Starshot and Drupal CMS, the user experience is
yes,
going to get significantly better. Everyone is hoping to,
yeah.
like, what do
I
you
mean,
what do you
Starshot is totally geared towards a different direction, and which is where Drupal should be heading right now. So, as
Okay.
Dries pointed in his keynote as well, that the market share of Drupal is dropping. Low code, no code tools are gaining more adoption. The major reason behind that is the barrier to, I would say, the barrier to entry
Mhm.
when you're building a site which has to cater to specific kind of needs,
Okay.
or certain things which are required for any digital experience platform.
Mhm.
So Starshot is catered towards reducing this barrier and reducing the go-to-market time for
Mhm.
certain types of use cases, I would say. Also, bring in certain common elements as a part of a starter kit. Think of Starshot as a starter kit, which will get you to maybe 40, 50, 60% of your website,
Mhm.
right? And then you take care of building the rest of it.
Okay.
That's where Starshot is geared towards. Yeah, we are also working closely with the Starshot initiative right now. In fact, one of our recent contributions to Starshot has been to port. Starshot, there's a Starshot demo which is planned for DrupalCon Barcelona,
Yeah.
and we have been actively contributing towards it.
Oh,
We are actively contributing towards building something which would allow converting civic theme components into SDCs in an automated way. So doing this manually would have taken a good chunk of time, but an automated process has reduced it to a great extent.
okay. Fine.
So yeah, I think Starshot is geared towards greatness, is what I would say, is geared towards ensuring that the barrier to go to market time for certain types of projects reduces, which is what these low code, no code tools primarily offer, right? And that's where Drupal lacks a competitive advantage today.
Okay.
And with Starshot coming on board, this is going to get much better, is what I would say. Okay.
All right. That's good to know. So yeah. So now it's in Drupal 11. Drupal is in Drupal 11. And what do you think
Mhm.
of that? Drupal 11 and its impact on the industry?
I mean, Drupal 8, Drupal 9, Drupal 10, Drupal 11. I think with the Drupal 8 coming on board, the updates or the delta between these versions have
Mhm.
significantly been reducing.
Okay.
So, I mean, I keep hearing our customers say today that we paid huge costs, we made huge investments towards building our Drupal 7 website. And right now, to migrate this Drupal 7 website into Drupal 8 or Drupal 8 Plus is going to be, again, a significant amount of effort or
Costly venture.
significant amount of cost, right? Is this going to stay the same going forward? Like Drupal 8, Drupal 9, Drupal 10, Drupal 11, for every new version, will I have to pay the same amount of cost? The answer to that is no. Drupal 8, 9, 10, 11 are incremental in nature, which means that they're like Drupal 8.9.x or Drupal 8.10.x. The next version of Drupal 8.10.x will be Drupal 9.0.0, which means that with Drupal 11, definitely there are a lot of new things which have come in, like SDC being in core, which is one of the biggest significant improvements, I would say. I mean, most of the agencies most of the agencies in the Drupal world, when it comes to the front-end development, they work with a component-based development approach. SDC is bringing this into core, a Drupal core way of building the front end using front end components, a component-driven approach. That's a big plus one in my opinion. CK5 has come on board, right? The good chunk of recipes are experimental now. So by the way, recipes is something which is laying down the foundation for our Starshot
Short.
as well, because uh, the the rationale behind Starshot is also to be able to package these uh, these mini use cases or these small use cases together and allow a site builder to go ahead and choose key. I want, for example, I want SEO recipe in my website. I want article recipe in my website. I want events recipe on my website. So I want to
Okay.
build a website, an event-based website, which can have blogs and articles. So I can go ahead and pick a recipe for SEO, pick a recipe for events, pick a recipe for article, combine them together and build my website. I'm 60-70% done there, and the rest of it is just customization, which is specific to your business. So recipes being experimental there is also a great move. In fact, with Drupal, one thing that I would like to point, and I see the kind of movement with Drupal. So with Drupal, I've seen that the direction of growth or direction of evolvement, right, it has always been towards towards the industry, towards what the consumers of Drupal are facing as a problem statement,
Okay.
right? For example, till Drupal 7, there was no Drupal core way of managing layouts in Drupal core. Till Drupal 7, sorry, yeah. In
Okay.
Drupal 8, Layout Builder came into picture, and right now we are working on Experience Builder, which
Builder.
is a more modern way or a more intuitive way of building pages in Drupal, right?
Okay.
So the growth of Drupal has been in the direction where the industry and where the users of a CMS
Would
need
wanted
it.
to.
Yes.
Yes. That's okay. That's indeed a great thing about Drupal. Okay. So moving on, like how do you foresee the impact of AI on content management system? but particularly in the context of Drupal. So considering your
Mhm.
session is also going to be on AI, so how do you foresee the AI backed?
Right. So AI has been there, machine learning has been there since quite some time,
Okay.
but we see the in fact, I was looking at McKinsey's survey recently around number of organizations that have been adopting Gen AI over last year, right? And the graph of adoption seems to be this steep compared to the other years where it has been a, smoother gradient, I would say. In last 1 year, it has seen a steep
Steep growth.
increase. Yes. Especially because of, especially with LLMs and Gen AI coming into picture, right? Uh, Organizations are implementing Gen AI use cases into different functions today, not just not just from not just into content management, but also into their general usage. For example, there are use cases around filtering or filtering leads, which are more likely to convert based on certain reasons and so on, right? Uh, Specifically in the context of Drupal or in the context of content management, I definitely see a lot of use cases which can be built there and there's also a module like Drupal AI module, a content module which focuses on these use cases has come has uh, has been built in no time after things became popular in the Gen AI world, right? So definitely there are a lot of use cases which can be covered with Gen AI when it comes to content management. Things like simple things like SEO, content generation. You can simply plug in your industry and get the trending keywords from Google. Have a recommendation engine built which will take care of telling you that this is one content that you should uh, invest into writing, which will gain you better authority over this keyword in Google searches.
Okay.
So things like these for which I'm not saying that SEO agencies will be replaced with AI, but yes, the power of making these decisions or making these recommendations will also come in hands of site owners themselves with the with the AI modules available. There are bunch of use cases for which we rely today on manual efforts like content moderation, for example, right?
Okay.
Uh, there can be certain stop words, keywords configured, and if there's a content which is being written around these areas, rather than a human effort required to do a proofreading, this can be done by the AI
Yeah.
model, recommending certain things. And once the content is ready, the actual proofreading, where you don't really need to eliminate certain things which shouldn't be there in the content, comes over, right? So yes, AI doesn't replace anything, but AI plus, so we should look ourselves at the intersection of where AI and content management systems meet together
Mhm.
and build these use cases powering
Okay.
your content management system with AI. Yeah.
All right. So can you also provide an overview of your session in DrupalCon Barcelona?
Right. So I'm doing two different talks there. One which is around AI and content and how it leverages or how it supports DXP platforms.
Okay.
What are a few different use cases? I'm going to talk a little bit about different use cases which can be augmented with AI and
Mm-hmm.
how you can do this safely, most importantly, because the more we speak with our customers today around AI use cases, the biggest question they have is how are you going to control the output of it? How are you going
Okay.
to control the sensitive data that goes to the AI models, right? So I'm going to answer a couple of these questions
Mm-hmm.
around it. And then the second talk is more about how do you design for privacy. So when we talk about privacy today, GDPR compliance and all, right? The and the problem, the biggest problem with personalization platforms today is they need data. They need users' data to be able to give you personalized inputs to give users a more enriched experience,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because as long as your personalization engine doesn't understand the user behavior, it cannot give you the content that you're looking for when you're browsing through a website, right? Which is a great experience for end users. But how do you design for cases where privacy is the major concern, right? Things like pseudonymization, wherein you don't really collect individual user data, but rather you
Mhm.
segment your users into different groups, right? Those are the kind of techniques that I'm going to talk about. I'm also going to
Okay.
talk about how design, how UX can play a major role
Mhm.
in defining a good UX
Mhm.
for for such use cases which need to be implemented
Mhm.
for websites where privacy is a major concern. In fact, I'm going to cover a case study there,
Okay.
which is where we built a platform called Laha for UNICEF, which
Okay.
is more focused towards women safety and violence.
Mhm.
This is a platform which allows people. It's more of a forum wherein women and girls can come and ask questions, talk about their concerns openly, without having to share any personal data of their own, read content and gain knowledge about it, right?
Okay.
So yeah, I think the talk is going to be on both of these fronts, wherein
Mhm.
we augment what we have done for UNICEF as a use case, and then
Oh,
talk in general, how do you design for privacy.
all right. Is this your first DrupalCon? Have you been to
No,
DrupalCon before?
well, it's an interesting story actually.
Yeah.
So my first DrupalCon was DrupalCon LA,
All right.
and back then Drupal 8 was coming on board.
Oh.
So back in that time, I was like way more active compared to what I am today in the open source community organizing these events. So I was
Okay.
doing a common session for different regional communities within India.
Mm-hmm.
How do you future-proof your skills for with Drupal 8 coming on board? Because everyone who was working with Drupal 7 was slightly scared or slightly into a different zone, because things are going to change massively when Drupal 8 comes over. Like people would use to procedural way of programming, and it's going to change completely to object-oriented programming, right? It was a major shift, I would say, for the developers. And I was doing this regional session for different communities within India.
Mm-hmm.
One fine morning, I wake up and I see a campaign which has been created, a crowdfunding campaign which has been created. Let's send Piyush to DrupalCon LA.
Oh.
And this actually happened. I was not really sure what would happen after that, but this actually happened. The love that the Drupal community has shown, and there's something that doesn't happen in any other community. At least I have not seen it.
Okay.
But yeah, the kind of love that Drupal community has shown, that has also kept me motivated towards pushing more and more towards ensuring that we give more and more back to the community rather than just being in the consuming mode. So that was my first ever DrupalCon Los Angeles. Uh, and yeah, thanks to the Drupal community within India and other folks from global community who supported.
Yeah.
Uh,
That's a great
we
story.
attended that event. Yeah.
That's a great story. So you already mentioned that you've been a part of Drupal Camp Pune, like you're
Mhm.
part of organizing, and you are right now going for DrupalCon Barcelona. And Drupal is a community. Drupal is something driven by a community.
Yes.
Like we can say that it is everything that is happening in the community. These events that you're conducting, so maybe it might be very regionally or can be a global event like DrupalCon Barcelona. How do you think these
Mhm.
events contribute to Drupal community as a whole?
Well, I think these events are definitely a good place to network, meet people. I mean, uh, to most of the, I think LA was the only first DrupalCon where I was there to attend sessions, because that was my first ever DrupalCon. I wanted to take more and more learnings from there and
Okay.
focus less on meeting people. But then
Mhm.
post that, it has primarily been meeting people, engaging in general, right? And these events do provide a great platform
Mhm.
to meet a network. Secondly, I feel these platforms also provide people to come up like I mean the way I would put out this is in a simpler way. So we do have sessions, tech talks, right, and case study presentations, right. These platforms act as a provider for folks to showcase what they have done, showcase what they've implemented, how Drupal has impacted their lives, how Drupal has impacted different engagements in different types of industries like NPO, NGOs, how these industries are leveraging Drupal today, right? So overall, I feel this like these events, they definitely play a huge role in connecting people, giving them a platform to talk about what Drupal does, and also showcasing what they've done, like coming out in the open and saying that this is what I've done, this is how it has been implemented, this is something that you can take as a key gate takeaway from.
All right. Okay. So, like moving on, you've been QED42 is said to be a very prominent agency within the Drupal circle. So you're involved in a lot of the like now you're involved in Drupal Starshot. So what are the specific contributions QED42 has given to Drupal and open source ecosystem in general?
Right. I mean, it would be kind of tricky to talk about all, but what I would try to do here is
You can
talk a
highlight
little
a
bit
bit.
about,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
how we are how I mean how we have sustained open source contributions, or what is it that drives open source contributions at QED42, Alka. So yeah, back when I joined, I knew that Drupal, I mean, I was getting introduced to Drupal. After my first project, I was presenting a talk at IIT Bombay, the first ever Drupal camp that I was attending there. I was attending it as a speaker where I was showcasing what I've done on Drupal in terms of like this migration project which I just spoke about, right? But that's where I was just learning about the community. Like I knew that Drupal is for me, Drupal was another framework, another platform through which you can build and deliver websites. I back then I was also an individual contributor. I was not thinking much about why Drupal, why not any other framework, or what is it that differentiates Drupal from other open source platforms, right?
Okay.
When I went to the Drupal camp, that's where I realized that community plays a major role in what Drupal is today, right? Drupal is one of the largest open source communities out there, right? And uh, that's where I got so as a part of this project, I built a custom module as well, which I later contributed back. But yeah, I think the mentoring, the learning that I got at QED42 initially was, and I've tried to imbibe it across the team while we have been growing. It's basically you start with Drupal core, you look at Drupal contrib, and then if one of these are not solving your use case, you think about how you can solve this generically, and then build a custom module, look at ways you can contribute this back to the community. You don't just consume from Drupal community from Drupal, but also give back to it. That's the philosophy that has been imbibed in me, and I have been passing this down across the team over the years so far. That's the philosophy that we work with, Alka. Now, there are different projects which are running at QED42. There's certain custom use cases that we keep building, right? But everyone is in the mind when they're building a custom solution, they're thinking about how is this a generic solution? Is this something that can help someone else tomorrow, right? And that thinking approach, it helps us to work in an open source sustainable work in sustainable open source contribution model, basically, right? Over the years, Drupal has in fact with Drupal 8, the thing that I liked a lot was working towards initiatives, like define these initiatives and then work towards them. For example, configuration management was one of the initiatives which was being driven in Drupal. Open source routing was one of the another initiative, right? So these were the initiatives which were being driven, and they were being run as more focused projects, right? Which give an open source contributor a sense of what they are contributing back towards, rather than just working ad hoc on issues and not understanding the meaning or not understanding the overall or a bigger picture of what you're contributing back towards. So that has helped again. Third thing that we do at QED42 is having this. So it's tricky. So even for me, it was tricky to get into the open source contributions initially. Back then, the barrier was also a little high, in my opinion. Right. But right now, what we do is for first time contributors, we conduct first time contributor workshops at QED42, wherein people are in there's a small induction program which helps them understand why contribute, what does a meaningful contribution mean, what are the guidelines to contribute, where we go through the Drupal.org open source contribution guidelines, right? And then the first batch which they commit, and there's a huge amount of appreciation that happens internally at QED42 whenever you're making your first ever contribution to Drupal. We have open source catch-ups every day. Like, it's a 30-minute catch-up where anyone in the team who's available can join in. We talk a little bit about the kind of contributions. If someone is stuck, helping them, supporting them, right?
Okay.
That's the kind of model. And then every Friday is a open source wrap-up meeting, which is slightly longer one. Right now, these days we are discussing Starshot in these calls primarily. And these calls are primarily geared towards getting you an understanding of where the open source contributions are heading towards, or where Drupal is heading towards in the open source space, right? So the Friday calls are more helpful for anyone who's not able to contribute back day in, day out, and is just willing to understand what's happening. That's the way we keep the ball rolling, keep the team engaged, and also, I think that's the way it has worked out for us so far. Having open source in the DNA, in the thinking mindset, and a supporting program to help people with.
So why do you believe like open source contribution are crucial for organization like QED42?
I mean, not just for QED42, I believe it's important for every other organization which is consuming Drupal today. Because I think Drupal is an open source project. It's a community driven thing, right? And when we say open source contributions, it's not just code. It could be case studies where you're just talking about how Drupal has empowered non-profits, has empowered healthcare sectors, and so on, right? Which helps establish this key. Drupal is one of the right choices, not just for simpler portals, but also for bigger enterprises, right? For different use cases. I would say it's crucial for everyone to contribute back to Drupal and help Drupal evolve as a product, not just with code contributions, but also with ideas on how it can evolve, how it can be at par with other systems out there, other DX3 platforms out there, right? Secondly, I think these initiatives which are being worked upon, they do require certain efforts to be put in by people. And since it's a community-driven thing, if us as organizations who are leveraging Drupal, who are consuming Drupal, we don't contribute back to it, there'll be slower or low movement or more time taken to get these initiatives to a production state, right?
Okay.
So I would say all of the organizations which are using Drupal, they have an equal stake in terms of how the product roadmap of Drupal evolves over time, how fast Drupal grows, how much Drupal is at par with the industry standards, right? Yeah, I think yeah, that's what I would like to conclude this with, Alka. Yeah, it's important for every organization which is using Drupal today.
Okay, thank you. So, what trends do you see shaping in the digital experience platforms? Like at present, what trends do you see, and how do you keep in track of that? Like you being involved in the technical part and you being the director of technology of an like a reputed organization, you have to be up to date in what is
Right.
happening, the catch up with trends that's happening in the digital experience platform. So, what are the trends that are forming right now, and how do you catch up with?
Absolutely. So, uh, with Drupal, as I said earlier as well, it was being looked at as a single content management system earlier, right? And that's how websites were also looked up at back in 2011, 2010, I would say, right? But over time, the need for digital transformations have increased. But in between, there was COVID, wherein huge digital transformation needs were realized by organizations, which are not a lot focused on their digital footprint, or their digital presence, right? So the way industry has changed, right, and Drupal has adopted to it up to a huge extent, I would say, right? Uh, Back then, these were one of websites. Right now, we're looking at omni-channel experience. For example, one website being able to spit out content to virtual assistants, to mobile applications, right? Omni-channel experience is one thing. Right now, what's in trend is what is AI capabilities within the DXP space, digital experience platform space, is something that's catching up. For me, I think reading up, staying has helped me to stay up to date as one thing. But reading is not just the only thing that's gonna help. That's not gonna keep you up at par. At QED42, say, like, we are a technology company primarily, and I primarily believe into keep looking at the rising trends, experimenting with it, and then adopting it based on how market shape, or how business and market is shaping up around those technology stacks, and then adopting it basically, right? So hands-on is one thing that I'm still with. Uh, I still keep experimenting. I still keep tinkering with the technology that helps me gain more confidence into it. But at the same time, building this culture within the organization, building the tech culture within the organization, it's where the information is not just coming from you, or from you reading up on the internet or following a couple of folks, but everyone becomes a powerhouse of producing information within the organization, is what uh, helps everyone staying up to date within the team. So we do have these Drupal meetups internally, which is primarily focused on getting to understand what's happening in and around Drupal. There are other frameworks which we work on today, like in front end we work with Next.js, we work with Node.js, uh, JavaScript frameworks, GraphQL, blah blah, right? But the whole idea is to have this tech culture where everyone starts contributing back ideas. Everyone is responsible for churning in inputs in terms of what's happening new, right? At QED42, we have an open space wherein you can come up and say that this is one platform which I think is relevant and is going to gain traction in the industry tomorrow, right? Let's do a small POC around it, and then see if it makes sense, right? It goes through a vetting process, obviously, but yeah, that kind of platform is there. So
Okay.
these things and these few different things, they definitely help me staying up to date with the recent trends.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we believe in knowledge can come from anyone and everyone. It's never a top-down thing.
Mhm.
It has to follow more like a graph model wherein everyone is contributing back to the knowledge repo.
All right. Okay. So, how do you envision the role of QED42 evolving in the digital experience sphere in the coming years, maybe in 5 or 10 years? How do you see the role
Mhm.
of QED42 evolving?
Right. So as I mentioned, we are a technology company, Alka, and we would want to continue tinkering with the technology, adopting the new trends which are upcoming. I can answer this question more from a recent trend perspective,
Mhm.
wherein so right now we are working a lot on open source digital experience transformation for different customers. We're working a lot on headless architectures,
Okay.
wherein your front end and back end are decoupled systems, right? And and customers get to leverage the power of Drupal as a CMS and a rich modern JavaScript interface like Next.js or React, which provides a uh, more interactive UX to end users, like more pleasing interface for users to interact with, right? Uh, what we're also working right now as an experimental, or I would say as a upcoming or growing vertical is our AI verse, wherein we're experimenting with certain use cases which can be developed with the help of uh, Gen AI models, with the help of certain RAG applications,
Mhm.
right? So back then, like back a couple of years back, I think the way of consuming information for people was a lot different. Like people used to read content. Uh, right now, people expect the information to reach to them rather than they reaching to the information. They expect the information to reach to them. And every customer, whichever space they are in, they would want their digital platforms to provide for it,
Mhm.
right? And that's what our focus right now is. Like, how do we make this information consumable in a more seamless, easier manner, right? For example, take a very simple example of search, right? You must have seen search across different websites, and you typically go in and put in a keyword there for search, right? But actually, if you think in your head, you're looking for information in a more human way. Like, for example, uh, how do I uh, or for example, let's say there's a website which is presenting a lot of data, lot of government data or lot of open data, right? I want to see what was the population of India in 2020, for example, right? If you try for this sort of a keyword search, typically it may or may not give you the right results at the top,
Mhm.
right? But the end users do expect to see the right information at the top, right? How do we make these kind of use cases more easily integratable with the CMS that we work with is what our focus is. Building chatbots based on the kind of content that you have on the site, contextual chatbots,
Mhm.
right? Where you can so this is more like the chatbots that you typically see today, where you ask one question, you get a response, and then based on the response, you can ask another question and so on, right? So those are the kind of use cases that we're targeting. We're looking at modernizing the DXP space
Mhm.
with AI tools today.
Okay. Right.
That's how we also see the future of DXP space shaping up. And
All right.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So we are actually nearing to the end of this conversation. So I have this one final question. We
Mhm,
have, as of now, we have discussed about Drupal, your involvement with Drupal, your involvement with QE42, Drupal Con,
mhm,
Drupal events. So you're a tech savvy person. So how do you drive your
mhm.
passion for technology and innovation? And is there any special personal experience that you could share that has impacted your professional journey so much that you're where you are right
Mm, I think my passion for technology has always been there, and yeah, I think staying hands-on is what has helped me
Okay.
stay up to date with it, and building the tech culture uh, that is what we have built at QED42 has helped sustain it. In terms of any experience, any specific experience, I think the Drupal Con LA thing that I just spoke about some
Is
time
one.
back, that was one of the biggest uh, events in my uh, professional journey so far.
Okay.
But yeah, I think community, the love that I get from the community, and the kind of appreciation and the kind of low barrier that you have with Drupal community in terms of getting involved, right? That has always uh, been the key differentiator for me. I mean, back in the days of 2011, Drupal didn't have a Slack channel or Slack workspace like it does today. But even then, we had IRC chats uh, where uh, where you could get Drupal support from anyone quickly, where you could get in touch with core Drupal contributors very easily, and you could like, uh, it sounds for someone who's starting new with Drupal, it sounds very strange that how can I get in touch with someone who's a Drupal core contributor? But trust me, it's as easy as dropping them a note on Slack and for whatever you need, right? And they'll get back to you.
Okay.
It's possible that the response may come a little late, but it's as easy as dropping them a note. So yeah, community and the kind of community that Drupal has around it has kept me driven so far, Alka. Also at QED42, I get to experiment with technology, which is what I always wanted to do, and help customers solve problems with technology. So I do a lot of consulting with the customers, and wherein I am more involved into the space where they come with a problem statement that this is one thing which we are facing right now. What could be the right fit or right fit solution around it? And I support them with consulting around the right solution to it, be it Drupal, be it non-Drupal. I my focus is to give them the right solution. For example, if someone is coming to me and they want to build a portal very similar to Airbnb, right? My recommendation to them would be go ahead and build a backend using Drupal, right? Have your have your assets or have your real estate assets managed somewhere else, right? And build a thin front end on top of it using some sort of a JavaScript front end, because that's where you'll get more user interactivity, right? So my idea always has been to marry the two worlds together, like the problem statement and the technology together. That's what I primarily do at QED42, I would say.
Right. All right. So that's almost the end of our conversation. Thank you so much, Piyush, for doing this. I have had a wonderful time. Hope you were okay too. You were comfortable answering the questions. So I really wish you all the best for Drupal Con Barcelona and for all your future endeavors. And we really hope to keep in touch with QD42 in future endeavors of Drop Times too. For we are for everything Drupal, and when QD42 is a Drupal agency out there, we are going to get in touch every now and then. So thank you so much for the time.